was 20 years old, I became famous on the internet. I was writing a blog that reached about 100,000 people. And they call me controversial, but for the most part, I was just dragging women down. I was writing about fashion for a female audience, and my most popular content was criticizing celebrity outfits. At the same time, I became known for being hated on the internet. I was fighting everybody in the comments, especially those who took upon themselves to drag me off my pedestal. They thought it was something personal. They used every single word that I wrote against me. They fought everything that I said, and they used the most personal details of my life to humiliate me and hit me where it hurt the most. Some of them even followed me on the street and screamed at me. I had to fight fire with fire because my self-worth depended on it. But what they didn't know is that there was no pedestal. I didn't think that I was better than anybody because at the time I didn't even think that I was good enough to be alive, let alone be accepted or loved. I was fighting an undiagnosed mental illness and in a brutally abusive relationship. So to have an internet persona with confidence was a survival mechanism. No matter what else I tried, no matter what kind of valuable content I tried to create, it didn't work. Because the only thing that brought in clicks was the drama and the catfights in the comments. So this little blog that was just a lifeline for me became a full-time career with perks like being invited to fashion shows and magazine features and expensive gifts. But it was something that didn't last as long. I was projecting my self-hate on the world, and it was not sustainable. I couldn't keep it up, and I couldn't change it. I could not reinvent myself because I was already pigeonholed as the villain. So I quit. I changed my name as a part of the transformation, and I moved to a different continent. At the age of 28, I received a mental health diagnosis that finally gave me the breakthrough on my healing path that I always wanted. Reinventing myself and restarting my life from zero was the hardest thing that I've ever done. But today, I proudly call myself happy and loving towards myself and others. I am 34 years old now, and I'm doing the exact opposite as I used to. I run a global woman empowerment platform with over 1 million people as a content creator, and I am teaching healing and spirituality. So, my goal is to create a safe space for women and to liberate them from societal expectations. Reclaiming my womanhood and connecting with my community has given me purpose and actually saved my life. But something never changed. I am still hated on the internet. And so is every other woman who dares to create content, regardless of the morality of it. Today, I look at those who spread hate with compassion and empathy, specifically because of my past. Because I know how much self-loathing one needs to have to project it on the world, because I've been there. But I also know that until we heal as individuals and as a community, this behavior will not change. Dragging women down within our own circles is so frictionless because we've been conquered and divided by the patriarchy for thousands of years, and we don't even think about it anymore. But maybe we should, because it hurts us. So if we're already dealing with so much, why are we doing this to each other? I believe every solution starts with understanding the problem. So these are the 5 things that we need to examine. Number 1, little boys are taught to be in competition with each other. Who's the loudest, the bravest, the coolest? But little girls are taught to be in competition with themselves to be good enough for the entire world. Because the only right way to be a girl is to abandon your own needs and be there for others. So while boys' competition gives them confidence and boosts their social standing, girls' competition is so personal because it affects our self-worth. Number 2, when it comes to conflict, for women, even statements and opinions can seem like a personal attack. While men just ridicule each other or use logic or aggression, women put so much emotion into conflict that we can truly hate someone. Female anger is an unacceptable emotion according to society because it's not soft and feminine. So it's usually written off as drama or hysterics or, just being crazy. But the thing is with anger, when it goes internalized and when it goes unexpressed, it can blow up on undeserving recipients and can even come out as gossip or malice. Number 3, women's competition was historically tied to self-preservation. With no rights, no access to money, and no prospects, women were forced to compete for the man who could give them the best life possible, which automatically favored the prettiest, the youngest, the most charming, and the most domestic women. But this is no longer the case. Do we even need to compete with young and fertile women? Because on one hand, either having a husband and children or being shunned by society no longer applies in most Western countries. If something, according to studies, the happiest demographic in the world is unmarried, childless women. And on the other side, the common concept that men are attracted to young and fertile women because, according to natural selection, they need to spread their valuable seeds all around makes no sense. Because from a biological standpoint, children inherit half their genes from their mother. So to have a primary caregiver that is intelligent, responsible, and mature would ensure the survival of our species. So, yet, women are brainwashed to be their own and each other's worst enemies and be in competition just to be accepted and picked and reap the privileges of it. Our diversity is our superpower. Society's ideals and beauty standards are crumbling, and we no longer need to live up to these outdated expectations anymore. Number 4, when we look at women with wealth, so many jump to the conclusion that it's been provided by her father or her husband. If she is self-made and successful, she's probably neglecting her family. If she even has a partner, being so intimidating. Female success is programmed into us as something that goes against the natural order, but it only goes against the patriarchy. And so is everything else that women decide to do differently, like refusing to have children or not doing more than 50% of the housework. But if it benefits men, why are there women out there keeping these traditions alive? Women who keep other women in check do so because by aligning themselves with the oppressor, they gain certain benefits, like it's easier for them to find a partner, or they are more seamlessly integrated into society, or they have the moral high ground. They throw other women under the bus because by them acting differently, they threaten the status quo, or even make these women question their own life choices. But the good news is that the more of us live unafraid and unapologetic outside of the box, the less there will be social norms and the happier we will all become. And lastly, number 5, Perfection Olympics. Women have to live up to these irrational standards We have to be the perfect mothers, the perfect partners. We need to be slim and fit and have no wrinkles. We need to cook the best foods. We need to be the glue of our friendship groups, and we need to be perfect at all times. And it is exhausting and impossible. So when women try to avoid turning against themselves for not being good enough, which we all secretly do, they instead turn against the women who seem to be doing better than them to drag them off the pedestal to feel better for their best efforts. I've been called a black sheep my entire life, and I don't know why. I just am. I'm opinionated, I'm outspoken, and I'm independent. I've never wanted children, but I always wanted to change the world. I have 67 tattoos, no formal education, I don't know how to drive a car, I'm never out of bed before 11, and I'm in my mid-30s, and I've never been married. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I've never did, even though the world has been pushing back and judging me the entire way. And even to me, it took decades to understand that I'm not an outlier. And there's nothing wrong with me. There are millions of right ways to be a woman. What if we lived in a world where women wouldn't have to live up to these expectations? What if we lived in a world where every single woman can be and act and dress and exist any way they feel comfortable or good, regardless, without judgment, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone? Because it is possible. But for that, we need to stick together and uplift one another, because we all want the same thing: to be heard and seen and loved and accepted. And it starts by hearing, seeing, loving, and accepting each other. Thank you.